I thought I promised myself I wouldn't make a Verlisify video. Well, here we are, making a Verlisify video. How a subject like a new Pokemon game can change your decisions. Regardless, my viewers, let me just state one fact. This video is not about exposing Verlisify or telling everyone how he is this or that. There are others who have done that, and I have no intention of joining either side. I have my own thoughts on the subject, and this video is going to talk about them. Talk about my views and my thoughts about him. He is not a saint. I will not try to make him sound like a great person or that he is without flaw or fault. But he is not a demon either. Despite how others describe him as, I don't view him as this horrible person that we must get rid of. He is what he has become. Someone who has fought against an idea or belief with the same zealous fervor he has accused others of doing.
Wake up now and see the truth. I'm here to show the world to you. I'm going to make you realize. So open your eyes.
Verlisify and I partially walk the same road when it comes to Pokemon. You know, how we look at Pokemon in both the casual and the competitive sense. We both had similar views regarding hackers, an interest in thinking outside the box for our teams compared to meta strategies, and our dislike for those trying to tell us how to battle. However, where our paths diverged started when, in my opinion, his image became twisted into what it is now. At first, he was, someone who fought for fairness in competitive play, someone who challenged the idea of others trying to dictate how you should battle. But then he became someone who doesn't care about other people's opinions that, differ from his own and believes that he is right on everything without concern for reasons or opinions from others. Now, while Verlisify does cover facts as truthfully as he seems capable of, many times have I noticed that he often covers some facts in a way that features his opposition in as negative a light as possible, without asking questions that might even partially benefit them. In his videos, most notably I am referring to the one where he talks about the whole Bring Back National Dex movement, he has often portrayed it in a very poor light, and in particular raising the most toxic demonstrations of those who believe in this idea to state his case and point, making those of us in the movement sound as if we are a bunch of, entitled child adults who are salty and angry that we can't bring our past Pokemon into the new games. From those who harass the developers on their posts by spamming the hashtag, to the person at Worlds who brought a poster, he has showed, at least in my opinion, his lack of overall knowledge of our reasoning behind asking and even demanding sometimes for Game Freak to stop cutting back on some beloved features from past games. But I don't blame him. I myself only learned more about this subject by watching so many videos, thinking long and hard, and coming to my own conclusions about the subject. Now, when I first started watching him long before I became a YouTuber was when he began making guides on how to make Pokemon competitive, their movesets, their IV and EV spreads, and even their natures. I had wanted to get into competitive, and it was only during my Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire days did I really get into it. When I began to truly get into competitive was when I found myself, like him, thinking outside of the box in terms of my teams. His anti-meta strategies inspired me to come up with my own ideas for Pokemon, from my Trick Room Speed Swap Pheromosa to my using Vivillon with Friend Guard for Rage Powder strategies instead of more standard plays that might get me a victory. Many told me early on that my way of battling wouldn't get me wins, but I ignored them because, like Verlisify, I fought my own way and not how others told me to fight. However, it was when I first started listening to his videos referring to Smogon, in particular when he first spoke about them and how Smogon players try to enforce their rules on others over the official rules created by Game Freak, that I began to travel the same route alongside him. Like him, I too believe that we should be playing the official rules made by the developers, and didn't like the idea of others forcing me to play by their rules. In that, we both are in agreement. We disagree with Smogon and how it attempts to control how one battles in Pokemon. I quickly became a subscriber and frequently visited his videos because his messages were simple and true. At least to me. I loved his Fan Friday videos. I tried a few times to get featured, and during a few live streams I tried to battle with him, but to no success. He inspired me to fight my own way, to not listen to others, and think outside the box. When he began talking about hacking in the Pokemon community, I too was in agreement. I disliked hacking, and after discovering what hacking entailed and the outcome, I wholeheartedly agreed we should ban hackers, etc., though my opinion would change later on. When he began exposing high-profile VGC players for hackers, I too felt the tiniest bit outraged. But the more I listened, the more I questioned, mostly myself, but still I believed them because his facts seemed accurate and true. But still I questioned them. When I started trying to become a PokeTuber myself, after trying to do Team Fortress 2 content, was when he and I began to deviate in terms of our words and our philosophies. It started when he started talking about how hyper training ruined legitimate trainers, in his words. While at first I disliked the idea, the more I thought about it, and the more I bred for competitive Pokemon, the more I realized the mechanic didn't matter to me at all. While he did bring up the point that you could hack in gold bottle caps, again, this did not affect me, the legitimate player. You see, a hacker would not waste his or her time hacking in a gold or silver bottle cap just to turn a worthless Pokemon into a competitively viable Pokemon. At least in my opinion. He or she would hack or gen the Pokemon to have the stats, nature, movesets, ability, whatever they wanted to begin with. The bottle cap would just be an unneeded step in the realm of hacking Pokemon. This was where I began to realize that Verlisify, in his desire for fair and balanced competitive play, was becoming just as zealous as the Smogon players he accused of being zealous in their desire to enforce their rules set on others. He was hating on something the devs put in designed to make it easier for the average player to get into competitive because he thought it would just make it easier for hackers to abuse. But where he and I truly parted ways in terms of where we thought was when he started fighting with other PokeTubers. In particular, his fight with Pimp Knight is what I'm referring to. I too watched Pimp Knight videos and I loved his content, but when I saw the two clashing was where I finally realized just how far Verlisify had fallen in my eyes. When he exposed Pimp Knight for being a hacker, it was done in a way that tried to put Pimp Knight in the most horrible light, not asking questions like, was it his or did someone else do it for him? I will not go into full detail because that is a long and lengthy enough process, but this fight was when I finally decided enough was enough and turned away from him. Pimp Knight and Verlisify are almost polar opposites. Verlisify wants competitive to be fair and balanced, while Pimp Knight just wants to have a good time and have fun. In my eyes, who cares if Pimp Knight may or may not hack some of his teams? He does not use them competitively. He does not try to be serious. In fact, nearly all of his teams are just joke teams meant for a laugh and pull off these crazy wins out of the hundreds of attempts in which they fail. Does what Pimp Knight do affect me or how I battle? No. And I've even had the honor of battling him myself one time. And I sense no intent to cheat me or deprive me of any win from him or his team. Now, as I said before, Verlisify is no saint, but in my opinion he is not a demon as many describe him as. Many have said he should be banned from YouTube or want him out of the Pokemon community, but I do not believe those voices. He may be a bad influence in some respect, but his words are no less true. Hacking in the competitive scene is as serious as any other scene that we should deal with. And his voice, as harsh as it may sound, sometimes is still the loudest one speaking out against it. In regards to the Bring Back National Dex movement, he states some facts that I agree with, but neglects other points that speak to the reasons behind it. Regardless of which side of the fence you are on, there is one truth that we must accept about him. He is only what we, the community, have made him. We are the ones that caused him to be what he is. And I feel that we, as a community, have to look at ourselves and how we are perceived by the world, both in the casual and the competitive sense, which I will touch upon in my next video.